Hello everyone, my name is Murad Ozbilgin. I'm from New Jersey and my project is titled Explain Obesity, Diet, and Physical Activity Using Machine Learning Models and SHAP Interpretation. So to start off with, I want to give some background information. So we first must understand the significance of public health indicators, which concern nutrition, physical activity, and obesity. These indicators are helpful for forecasting serious health problems within populations and creating early prevention and public health programs to communities that are most at risk. We look at predictive factors such as age, gender, income, and education to help explain why these indicators differ across groups and determine their correlation. This study uses the CDC's Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System dataset to identify sociodemographic predictive factors that are associated with such public health indicators. The predictive factors tested for are age, income, education, race/ethnicity, gender, and geographic location. This study aims to find the key important sociodemographic predictors associated with fruit and vegetable consumption, which is diet, exercise habits, overweight status, and obesity. Most prior literature uses only traditional statistic models to analyze these associations. However, this study contributes by using machine learning models that can more accurately represent nonlinear associations between sociodemographic predictors and public health indicators. The data was obtained from the Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System, or BRFSS, dataset, which is a national health-related survey conducted by the CDC. BFRSS includes self-reported information from U.S. adults through telephone, state-level data from 2011 to 2023 from the 50 states, the capital U.S., and the 3 U.S. territories are included in this dataset. However, my study focuses on just the 50 states and the District of Columbia. The full dataset count is about 440 million, which was collected in 13 years, where overlap in response is not ruled out, and it provides measures on the public health indicators looked at in this study, and additional documentation details are available through the CDC BRFSS website, which is linked down below. The study examines these following predictors, which are age, income, race/ethnicity, education, gender, and geographic location, and the sub-factors are listed down below. These are the target outcomes that are measured. So first is obesity, which is a percentage of adults aged 18 years and older with a BMI greater than 30. Overweight is BMI between 25 and 30. Adequate fruit consumption and vegetable consumption was measured as 100% minus percentage of adults who report consuming fruit or vegetable less than one time daily. This was because the dataset only gave inadequate fruit consumption. The other target outcomes that are measured are no exercise and regular exercise, and the requirements that need to be met below are listed here. Here are the machine learning models that are used in the study. But before I get on to the first one, I want to talk about decision trees. A decision tree is a model that makes predictions by splitting data into smaller groups based on feature values, putting them into nodes and leaves. This model, decision trees, is pretty basic and easy to understand. However, it is prone to overfitting, which is when a model learns the trained data too well and then results in poor performance on new data. So that's why random forest was conducted in this study, which is a machine learning method that builds multiple decision trees and averages their predictions. This improves accuracy and reduces overfitting. The next model that was used was extreme gradient boosting, which is a model that builds a group of decision trees using gradient boosting, which is where a model is built in steps, and in each new step tries to fix the mistakes made by the previous one, making the overall model better in time. Categorical boosting, or cat boost, is an algorithm that builds models in steps like gradient boosting, but is especially good at handling categorical data automatically through ordered boosting. And the last model used was light gradient boosting machine, which is a fast gradient boosting algorithm that improves the part of the decision tree with the largest prediction error first instead of splitting it evenly. Now on to Shapley additive explanations, or SHAP. This method is used to explain the output of machine learning models. So it is used in the analysis to show the machine learning models made predictions through calculation, how much each feature contributes to a prediction, and its directionality. This was used to interpret the data and find the most important predictors on whether they had a positive or negative effect related to the outcome. SHAP measures a feature's marginal effect on a particular model output as well. This will be shown in the results. If the SHAP value is positive, then it increases the prediction by a certain percent. If it's negative, then it decreases by a certain percent. And a bigger value indicates a stronger influence, which is represented in the bar graph by the length of the bars, which will be shown in later slides. This table shows the region-based rankings of population percentages of target classes. Here, percentage of overweight population across socio-demographic groups is in Northeast and West. The highest percentage of obesity, on the other hand, occurs in South and Midwest. Most people reporting irregular exercise reside in the West. Most people reporting no exercise reside in the South. The highest percentage of population with adequate fruit and vegetable consumption is in the Northeast. Here are the time trends in overweight and obesity. I want to point out that the possible confounding factors in the charts to explain some of the behavior. For example, the dip when weight loss drugs were popularized, specifically GLP-1 receptor agonists. For example, semaglutide, aka Ozempic, for example, was FDA approved in 2017, was popularized in 2022-2023, which shows a tapering or decline in some areas, in some regions, and in the obesity graph. However, it also shows an increase in overweight status, which means that which means people were decreasing their BMI from 30 above into the 25 to 30 range. So this is a confounding variable that could explain some of the behavior of the graph. These graphs show those who reported to do regular exercise and no exercise. A possible confounding factor to increase exercise may be due to COVID. Due to remote work, people had more time to exercise indoors and outdoors due to the lockdown. And these graphs show the time trends in adequate fruit and vegetable consumption. So here are the outcomes and the machine learning model's performance using 80% of the data to train the models and 20% to test its accuracy. The top machine learning model in each target outcome category had the highest R-squared percentage. R-squared shows how much of the variation in the data the model can explain. So a higher R-squared value would indicate a better performing model. So this indicates its better performance and compared to the other models. We can see here the machine learning models shows moderate performance for the no exercise, adequate vegetable consumption, and obesity target factors. The model was weak for overweight and adequate fruit consumption, and the models performed especially poorly when predicting regular exercise. So these are the SHAP results for overweight status and obesity. So overweight status, all three models consistently found male gender and ages 65 and older to be the most significant predictors and were associated with a positive overweight status. Moving on to obesity, all models found race/ethnicity, region, and age to be the most significant predictive factors. The western northeastern regions and the Asian population were associated with lower obesity risk, while low-income and black population were associated with higher obesity risk. Some of this data can be explained within the literature review, which is upcoming. Physical activity. Moving on to physical activity. The western regions were the most significant predictor of being physically active, whereas lower income, education less than high school, and the southern region were associated with increased predictive activity. Now moving on to diet, education and income and region were found to be the most significant predictors of diet, where higher income and education and the northeastern region were associated with greater predictive fruit and vegetable consumption, whereas lower income and education were associated with lower predictive fruit and vegetable consumption. These are findings from prior research, which can help explain some of the data. So Kaposia et al. Provides a review of the literature on social, cultural, and ethnic determinants of obesity. So some of the findings were socioeconomic disadvantages like low income, inequality in employment, and education and poor housing lead to obesity. For ethnic minorities, psychological stressors like systematic racism and neighborhood segregation are associated with obesity, and adverse living conditions associated with low economic status rise to limited resources like low budget for healthy food impacting nutrition habits, and 2, less access to safe spaces for exercise, thereby impacting physical activity. In conclusion, SHAP factor importance results are largely consistent with previous research. SHAP provides importance ranking of socio-demographic factors. This can help focus attention on most important areas for early prevention health programs. SHAP results show geographic location to have a strong association with the studied public health indicators. And some of the study's limitations were self-reported data from phone surveys, which can cause self-reporting bias, and no claims of causality can be made. Here are my references, and thank you.